2020, it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was a time to really think about, how do I want to spend my time? It was a time that I read so many books. I binged watched a lot. I enjoyed the time I spent with my family. I'm grateful for these little opportunities to step out. So probably the biggest impact was that my father died this past February 20th. So I spent a lot of time with my parents that in the past I wouldn't have. So I felt really blessed that during the last year of my dad's life, I got to spend so much time with him. Had it not been for COVID, that wouldn't have happened. My father was 96 years old, and he had fallen and didn't seem to have anything extremely wrong, except the next night it took him over an hour and a half to walk from his chair to the bedroom. So we ended up taking him to the emergency department, and he was in the hospital for a week. He had some kind of subdural hematoma, and he understands that it could cause his death. And he went into hospice, and 14 hours later, he was dead. I took one day off so I could spend with him, because the visiting regulations at that point were one family member per day. And you could have a different visitor each day. So on that Wednesday, I took the day off and spent time with Dad. That's the time that we did a Zoom family call to talk to the hospitalist about end-of-life issues, about if he should be palliative care or hospice care. And, a year ago, we wouldn't have probably Zoomed or FaceTimed a call to involve the whole family. 2 days later, one of my colleagues went to visit my dad, and she said she'd FaceTime us. And so he got on the phone and he said, "Get here now." And it's like, "Okay, Father." So I'd been at work a couple hours, and I left work and I went to where my dad was in the hospital and spent the day with him until hospice came to pick him up. So the blessing was, in hospice, he could have 2 visitors at a time from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and he could have somebody spend the night. So he got to see his kids, 4 of his grandkids, and his new baby great-granddaughter that last day in hospice. I think the isolation was horrible for my parents. In the past, they had a habit of, they went to the Healthplex 5 mornings a week. And sometimes my dad would sit and drink coffee, or sometimes he'd go on the exercise bike for 15 minutes. My mom would do more of a workout. She was in better shape physically. And then oftentimes she would drop him off at the VFW, and one of the guys would come out and help him in. Dad was pretty feeble and got around on a walker. And so one of the guys would come out and help Dad in, and Dad would have 1 or 2 beers, and then Mom would come back and pick him up, and they'd go home. So my dad was a very social person. So all the isolation during COVID was difficult, which is one reason why I started going over so much. We had, my mom's birthday was in May, and we had, they have a circular drive. So we kind of had a family dinner on their driveway and really spread out. And their 70th wedding anniversary was the next month. So we decided to have another family driveway dinner. But then I sent out messages to church friends, my mom's sorority friends, neighbors, old friends, friends of ours. And we had a drive-through parade of people coming to wish my parents happy 70th anniversary, and we gave out cake. And people from the neighborhood walked through. And so that was a real blessing, and my dad really enjoyed that. So then the next month, when it was his 96th birthday, we did the same thing. And, I think those were real highlights for them. We started having once a month family Zooms on late Sunday afternoon so they could connect with their grandkids who are spread around the country. My parents don't know how to do it, but as long as somebody's there to get them on Zoom, I think they enjoyed it. My mom and I would work a lot of puzzles. Dad and I like some of the same television shows, or he would have sports on, which I'm not a sports fan. So Mom and I would sit and talk while Dad would watch football or basketball. It was really a good time because so many of the outward things that I used to do, I used to go to the movies probably once or twice a week. No going out to the movies. I used to go to the theater 3 or 4 times a month. Or if I was in a play, more frequent. So those kinds of things I've missed, but because I didn't have those things in my life, it was very easy to spend the time with my parents.